Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. We're going to quickly jump into CoinGecko here. We're currently sitting at a $1.79 trillion market cap, currently up 2.1%. Looking at the top 10 here, Bitcoin sitting at 37,870, Ethereum sitting at 2,557, Tether is Tether, Binance Coin sitting at 387.41, Cardano sitting at 105, XRP sitting at a whopping 61 cents, Solana sitting at 91.71, Terra sitting at 50.66, and then DOT sitting at 18.43. So as you can see, we're seeing a little bit of green here coming about. There's still a lot of red in the market here. Coming over here to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we're still at a 24, just the same from earlier. And we've been in this range for a while. And we talk about in all our videos, there's just a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt going on, a lot of FUD in the market. You have inflation, Jerome Powell and the Fed, and what their tactics and strategy is and plan is for inflation and with the tapering and interest rate hikes and all that stuff. So there's just so much uncertainty in the markets, which has been affecting not only the crypto market, but all the markets here. So we're going to start off here with Eleanor Tarrant because there's been a lot of conversation going on in the Twitterverse about this so-called regulatory stance that the Biden administration is coming about with this executive action to regulate cryptocurrency. So she says, new via Barron's Online, the Biden administration is planning executive action to regulate cryptocurrencies as a matter of national security. A order is expected to come in the next few weeks. She then retweets down here saying they're changing the next few weeks to next week. So this is according to this Barron article source. So here goes the article that people have been talking about and been worried about. Obviously, this is a particular source. Blockchain Backer came out with a video kind of deep diving on this particular publication here about their articles and how many people are actually engaged within their their Twitter and whether their sources are reliable and whether this publication was just coming out with a so-called scary or fearful or fudding headline. And then this article popped up here. Bloomberg had put it up. It says, White House is set to put itself at center of U.S. crypto policy. So coming back to the Barron version of it, says White House wants crypto rules as a matter of national security. So this article is pretty much talking about, how Eleanor Tarrant was saying they're going to have some executive action that's going to take place, next week. And, are they going to come out and say, all altcoins are securities and yada, 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 just a lot of this FUD stuff. And it seems like the source that they use are just kind of feeding them stuff to kind of spark some sort of fear emotion. So whether it's right or wrong, the whole point is this is just an article. Nothing has been set in stone yet. And if you come over to this Bloomberg article, you come down here, this is talking about, it says the late stage draft of the executive order details economic, regulatory, national security challenges posed by cryptocurrency, said the people who asked not to be named discussing internal deliberations. It would call for reports from various agencies due in the second half of 2022. So for the Barron's article to say, next week, to come into this saying that they're waiting to collect, certain information and reports and logs from certain entities and agencies on the second half of 2022. So when is this so-called executive order, final draft, or whatever the case is supposed to actually be, implemented and put into place? And what is the true conversation? We have, the mid-elections, you have the elections coming. So it's like the Biden administration and the Democrats aren't going to do anything. Well, they'd be silly to do it, but they're not going to do anything that's going to further hurt, investors, especially when it comes to the crypto space. They're not going to, they're not, I'm just going to say it. This is my opinion. They're not going to do anything that's going to, stifle our innovation or our growth and truly hurt us as investors. So to claim or to even hint at, maybe they're going to make all altcoins, in securities or whatever the case is, or they're going to come out with some harsh, regulatory actions against the crypto market due to national security. It's sparking and igniting fear, which is trying to affect the market. So long story short, who knows, what's going on behind closed doors, whether they have proper resources or not. The point is until we know further, from, the horse's mouth, as they say, we just kind of use this as, okay, thank you for the reference, and I'll keep that in the back of my Rolodex. Moving on. So moving on here, Johnny Deaton had tweeted based off of that Barron's article. He says, hope to be proven wrong. I believe this executive order is bad news temporarily. They will attempt to seriously damage stablecoins because they threaten the banks and the bond market. Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren have too much influence. I believe they will call most alt security. So that's something he had said earlier, but he had responded to BC Backer's deep dive, and he says BC Backer's recent video does an excellent dive into Biden's executive order, taking a much less pessimistic view than I've taken. I'm hoping to buy BC Backer a beer for proving me wrong. Respect, brother. So who knows who's going to be right based on their own research and their own understanding of the information that we have. But long story short, until we have, some final verdict or we hear it from the horse's mouth on their plan of action, I mean, just kind of take it, with a grain of salt. Coming over here, Hester Pierce had said, the string of Bitcoin spot ETF denials have continued in 2022. The rationale underlying them doesn't get any better with time. So obviously we talked about in our past video, Fidelity's Bitcoin ETF was rejected by the SEC again. So this is something else we've been waiting for years now. Obviously, Canada's got their thing rolling and obviously had success with it. And it's something that this market has been waiting for and our country has been waiting for. And it can truly ignite, this so-called, to get us out of this downwards phase that we're in our market. And it can reignite our market and kind of send us off to flourish. So who knows what the SEC is going to approve? Who knows who's going to be the agency or institution or whatever the case is that's going to get the first, Bitcoin ETF approval. And who knows if we were going to get that approval this year or next year, whatever the case is. So it's almost just like, as they say, kicking the can further down the road. And who knows why, what their rationale is for it. And, if it's appropriate for our space, are you hindering us further as Americans, as United States in general, pushing us further behind the rest of the competition when it comes to, adoption, the crypto market and kind of getting ahead of this innovation and this technology. So coming over here, Charles Gasparino had tweeted, cryptocurrency critics like Gary Gensler and Elizabeth Warren are likely to have significant influence on the government's strategy to regulate industry, which will mean much tougher regulations. I discussed now so he was doing this on Fox Business. So we've talked about it in our videos, on our past videos, the importance of, first of all, the Ripple versus SEC case and how if the SEC wins, they're going to have more power to, over-regulate, overstep and over-dominate our crypto space, which can, hinder and stifle our innovation and our growth and adoption and all that stuff, right? So what he says here is absolutely massive, likely to have significant influence on the government strategy to regulate the industry, which will mean much tougher regulation. So clearly, Gary Gensler and them have been coming out talking about, 2022 is about going after the exchanges. He's trying to make it to where, investor protection and, they got to be compliant and yada, yada, yada. But it's like, really, investor protection? The so-called investors that you're set out to protect, you're hurting with this Ripple versus SEC case, just for the XRP and Ripple investors alone, but for the entire broader crypto market. That case, that lawsuit that's going on is going to set precedent for the entire industry. So those so-called investors you're set to protect and that you claim that you're protecting, you're really not protecting. And I really like this gentleman's tweet here. It says, Roaring 20s. It says, I used to think regulation was a good thing for the industry, early adopters and retail investors. Now I think it's a horrible path forward for us retail investors and the enabler for the elite only to profit greatly. So whether, obviously this may come from based on his own knowledge and his research and experience within the space. He could be right or wrong, but I don't think this is a bad way of kind of looking at kind of what's been going on. Who knows if this is going to, pan out to be what our space is going to turn into. But as of now, we do have the ability as retail investors, small investors to, partake in this ever-changing innovation in utility and technology. So we're very fortunate of that. So here's some more. Here goes some positives. Obviously we have a lot of FUD that's going on with inflation and some of the other articles that's been coming out. The SEC over-regulating, overstepping. Showing their muscles to everybody. So you have Bitcoin worth 670 million leave centralized exchanges after hawkish Fed comments. So regardless of whatever is going on, the fear in the markets, the downside, there's still massive amounts of whales purchasing Bitcoin and taking it off exchanges, obviously decreasing the supply that's on those exchanges, which in turn, in the grand scheme of things, if there's less supply, we talked about it in our previous videos, if there's less supply on the exchanges, all that does is going to increase the demand, which can increase the price of it. So it just goes to show, people see the writing on the wall. They know where this is going, and they see that Bitcoin and crypto is the future, so they're getting ahead of it. So more positives. Tony had tweeted this. He said, something big is happening in the next few weeks will be very interesting. The following is happening at the same time. You got the Biden crypto executive order. You have Russia and Putin turn bullish on crypto. Arizona bill to make Bitcoin legal tender. Turkey turns bullish on crypto. So coming over here, this is huge. This is Arizona considers making Bitcoin legal tender. A state senator in Arizona has introduced a bill to make Bitcoin an official state currency, which is massive. That just shows you more adoption. People are seeing, the benefits of adopting, blockchain technology, Bitcoin and crypto. Then you come over here, you got Russian government agrees on roadmap to regulate crypto report. So there you go. More innovation, more adoption, which is going to increase more exposure and more trust and faith within our market. Coming over here, you got Blockworks tweeted, Apple CEO, we see a lot of potential in Metaverse and are investing accordingly. So that's huge. You have the Apple, obviously I'm sure they've been in this, they've seen the writing on the wall, prior to this. Maybe they weren't as loud and outspoken about it, but it's good to see that they're coming out saying these things, because we know that, the Metaverse, NFTs, gaming, all that stuff, crypto, DeFi, everything about crypto and every sector of crypto is proving to be highly profitable. It helps with just how we do our day-to-day lives. It makes things more efficient. It just, in a sense, it's like it's like a well-oiled machine. Obviously, we're in our infancy stage as a market, but as we can see, there's been so much happening that's influenced so many lives around the world when it comes to the crypto market. So that's huge that you have Apple coming out and saying this. So I want to touch on that real quick. So obviously, we are the people that's, constantly doing our research, keeping up on the news and the latest and greatest in the crypto market, investing accordingly. But you got to understand, we are a very, very small fraction of the overall population that really don't understand, cryptocurrency. They may know of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but that's probably about it. They don't really know much of anything. So it's like you have those millions and millions and millions of people that are literally sitting on the sidelines. And those millions of people that are sitting on the sidelines are sitting on the sidelines with trillions and trillions of dollars with, other institutions and other companies and other big players that are just waiting for some sort of clarity and regulation that in their eyes makes the space seem more safe to get into. So once you have Apple CEO come out, you have Google getting in, you have Nike, you got, Kevin O'Leary and all these big industry players and big institutions and corporations and companies, coming and talking about, how they're adopting and utilizing cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. All that does is entice their followers and the people that, that look up to them, and entices them to say, hey, Apple CEO or, getting into Bitcoin and crypto and the Metaverse. So it makes it okay for me. So that just kind of, lets them dip their toes in the water. And as they start, filling out the water, they get used to it. And then they start exploring the entire space in general. And that way, that's going to bring more and more and more people into our market. So we go from being very infant to being a massive market. Not even just the investors. And I'm thinking about the actual workers, thinking about how many people on the sideline are just, aren't sure that the crypto market is here to stay, or they aren't sure that if they did work for a blockchain company or, any crypto company in general, that their job is secure and safe, because there's really no clarity. There's no real regulation. So imagine if all that happened and you have all these employees coming in working for these companies. That drives innovation, that drives faster production, more efficient production, and that just overall helps the space grow even more massive. So stuff like this, and I'm glad Blockworks always puts up great headlines and great breaking news like this, because it's so massive for our space. We see the writing on the wall. We know where this future is heading. We're on the right side of history with Bitcoin in the crypto market. Lastly, I wanted to end with this one. Just in, 76 billion asset manager wisdom tree to launch a wallet allowing users to buy Bitcoin and crypto. So that's just more and more adoption, allowing more users to become familiar with, blockchain technology and cryptocurrency. Just, let them dip their toes in the water, let them get comfortable. And that's how things happen. So even though we have, we're down massively, there's extreme fear in the market, you have inflation, you have articles like this, executive, actions coming on cryptocurrency due to national security, just all this stuff going on. There is massive adoption happening day by day by day. People are seeing the writing on the wall. They understand that crypto, Bitcoin, our entire space, we're just beginning. We're early to the party here, and this is the future. We're on the right side of history, and I truly believe that, and I have high conviction on that. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.